Hi, everybody. Erica here from In the Company of Cards. Welcome. Welcome back. Thanks so many of you for your kind words about my interview with my brother yesterday. It was a lot of fun doing that with him. And if you feel called to do so, I would love it if you would click the link on that video and consider a donation to his beautiful, beautiful school, the East Harlem School. It's grades 4 through 8. And a lot of the kids are in, we'll call it circumstances that could prove difficult for them given the current administration, if you get my drift. So any help you can toss their way, they would really appreciate it. So yeah, I have a lot of new viewers here, and so periodically um, I will sort of do a quick overview of what I do. So, what I do is I divine, meaning that I predict events and I comment on events, both domestic and overseas. I look at politics a lot. And I use Lenormand, Lenormand, or you can pronounce it Lenormand, or you can be French about it and pronounce it Le Normand. All are correct. Someone asked me, what does the word mean? The word is someone's name. Madame de Lenormand. She was a seer, a diviner, did work like I do back in the time of Napoleon, and she was actually Napoleon Bonaparte's personal seer. And she never actually used these cards. She had other methods of divining. But this was a card game originally, these cards, these 36 archetypal images. And when it was discovered that they had, real divinatory power, it became marketed that way. And so when they tried to decide what they would call it, again, from a marketing perspective, they said, you know what? Let's slap Madame de Lenormand's name on it because she's famous and she's famous for divining, for telling the future. And that will help us sell the deck. And that's what happened. Madame Lenormand herself never used these cards. So, however you say the word Lenormand, 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 it's fine. It's fine. Um, so that there's that. Um, I'm looking at a few questions, most of them viewer questions. So let's see what we've got. Um, Someone asked me this question, and I kind of gave a very short answer that I think, in retrospect, was maybe a little too short. The question was, how will blind students specifically fare in the face of these budgetary rollbacks and the destruction of the Department of Education, which is responsible for a lot of the funding that goes for uh, education of the disabled, as well as for diversity, equity, and inclusion programs, which of course are not a thing anymore. So, but they were asking me specifically about how blind students would fare. And so my sort of short answer was as badly as you would think that they would fare. But that's not helpful. So let's look specifically, this is for this viewer, specifically as to how blind students will fare under this administration's draconian measures against programming that makes their education fair and equitable. Uh, and I think what I'm going to do, well, I might as well use the scythe as the clarify, as the significator, because we're talking about cuts. How will the cuts affect these students? I mean, I think we know, but you're not asking my opinion, you're asking the cards. So I will let the cards show us. Okay, so Just gonna cut the deck, and we're gonna look for the scythe, which is that cutting farming tool. And that will represent cuts, and we want to look at their effect on specifically blind students. Okay. Well, we could imagine the cuts are going to hurt because how could cuts not hurt, right? I mean, that's obvious. So we have this older woman, we have the child card, we have the scythe in the middle that stands for the cuts, we have the fox, and we have the key. I'm going to just say that where there's a will, there's a way that cuts to that particular population will probably be made up in other ways um, from by the private sector. That's what I think. So here are the cuts, and then we have the clarifiers, the dog, the scales, and the whip. In order to be, here's the cuts. In order to be helpful, this is a card for being helpful to these particular students, in order to make their education fair and equitable, there's going to have to be a lot of hustling done. And I'm assuming on the part of the private sector or also the state. Uh, Fox clarifiers are the tree, the lily, and the letter. I think that clever people, experts at this, over time, because it's going to take a while, will find ways to make up the shortfall. The key is the last card, and I like that it ends with the key. I think that's good. We have the ship, the anchor, and the fish. So, the thing is that, yeah, the key is good. There's got to be a way found to move the education of these students along so that they don't suffer. Because, you've got a ship and the ships move, right? Unless they're anchored and stuck in their ports because of money, because of budgetary constraints. Now, who is this woman? What is this woman? I don't know, but I think that states will have to pick up the shortfall, and the private sector will have to pick up the shortfall because the federal government will be hamstrung, as lots of things in the federal government are now being hamstrung and cut and destroyed. So there you go. I mean, again, the obvious answer is they will be harmed, obviously, right? I mean, they won't be seen as the exception because this cutting is so wide swathed and wholesale. But states and private sector will have to pick up the slack until we can right this ship. Okay, another question. So Vladimir Zelensky is currently in the UAE, that's the United Arab Emirates, ahead of the purported meeting of 47 and Putin to discuss peace between Russia and Ukraine. This is, on the one hand, Zelensky's trip is apart and separate from this Putin-Trump meeting, which has not been scheduled. There's no date been given for that. But I think it's a kind of a power move. I think it was really a smart move on the part of Zelensky to try to shore up funding and economic cooperation between Ukraine and the UAE. So it's kind of like Zelensky saying, while you all are over there talking about me, I'm going to do some talking for myself to an Arab nation in the hope that I can broker some kind of deal with them that will help my people economically. So I know that people are concerned about his welfare. And so I think I'm going to look and see, will Zelensky be safe during his time in the UAE? And I'll use the young man for him because he's young, younger than 47 anyway. So we're just going to look to see whether Zelensky will be okay during his trip to the UAE. Um, again, separate and apart from any peace talks that may or may not happen between Putin and 47 about the war between Russia and Ukraine. I was going to say, did I miss it? Well, it's the next to the last card, which means that that's where I have to put it. Um, and that means that I have to pull 3 cards in front of it. And then this will be the 5th card. Okay. So we're asking about his health and safety while he's away in the UAE. We have the letter, we have the anchor, the dog is the card in the center. This is Zelensky, and then we have clouds. So I think that he's going there to secure um, deals for his country that are economic in nature. Uh, I like the dog in the middle because they received him. Um, it's been fine so far, but I don't love the clouds at the end. So I'm just going to pull cards on the clouds. Okay, and they're really nice. I mean, he went there because he didn't know how he was going to be received. He didn't know whether he would be able to broker any kind of economic deal with UAE. But the clarifiers are the sun, the lily, and the star. I think he will be able to broker something, and I also think he'll be perfectly fine while he's away. So we don't have to worry about Zelensky having one of those unfortunate Soviet-style Russian fall out the window kind of accidents or plane blowing up kind of accidents. Entertainment purposes only. I think he'll be fine. Speaking of that part of the world, another viewer asked me to take a look um, at Yulia Navalnaya. She is the widow of Alexei Navalny, um, the activist dissident who met his untimely end in a Russian Siberian prison. Supposedly, he went for a walk, felt sick, passed out, and died. Sounds like poison to me. Just saying, entertainment purposes only. But anyway, we've just had the year anniversary of his death slash murder. And Yulia Navalnaya, sorry, um, has dedicated an award that will be given out yearly, and this will be to people who behave courageously in the face of um, political oppression, as her husband did, as she has done. And the viewer just asked me if I would pull cards for her. This award that she announced was announced in Germany. Um, so there's a lot of speculation, and there has been in the past year that she would she would take over her husband's role as uh, the leader of this dissident movement. Uh, as the figurehead, she is the leader of that movement currently, but there's speculation as to whether she would in fact return to Russia, um, and what that would be like for her. But I'm gonna look for Yulia uh, Navalnaya and see how she's doing or what she's thinking about. We're going to use the older woman for her. I mean, she's 20 years younger than I am. She looks great, but she has a grown child and another child younger than that. But she's earned the status as her status as a woman of um, wisdom and stature, and so I'm going to have her be the older woman. So what does the future hold for Yulia, Navalny's widow? This is Yulia. So, good news and then less good news. So we have the fish, we have the sun, we have Yulia uh, Navalnaya, we have the snake, and we have the clouds. Um, so the good news, of course, is that I think she's done a good job raising awareness and raising funds for dissident operations. So that's terrific. I mean, the fish is money and awareness is the sun. So that's good. She's in the middle, but I mean, as you can imagine, uh, Putin is not a fan. So I'm going to pull some cards on these and see what that's about. I'll pull cards on her as well. Okay. So on Yulia herself, we have the garden, the bear, and the lily. Of course, this is Yulia. People want her people want her to be safe. The garden is the Russian people. They want her to be safe, but they also want her to lead them. This is the bear. It's the card for the boss, the leader. They need her voice, they need her direction, etc., because that will bring them a sense of calm. So, I think even the people are torn, as is she, as to where she can best serve, whether it's overseas, raising money and awareness, or whether it is on the ground in Russia, where, of course, she faces great danger, as we can see from the snake. Clarifiers for the snake are the mice, the young woman, and the key. Her eldest child is 23, graduate of Stanford. It's a girl, she's a woman, young woman. And I think that, and then there's a younger son, probably at this point, high school age, uh, like early high school age. The thing is that, she, of course, Yulia is in danger. Her daughter is very fearful, mice, and that's the daughter, for her mother's life. And I think that has um, influenced her decision to stay abroad, whether that is, well, generally speaking, that's Europe, Germany at the moment. So she has acquiesced to the fact that her children are still young. Her daughter is just starting out her life, and the kid is the son is still in school. So I think she's waiting until they feel more established and settled in the world before she makes any kind of major move um, herself about going back. And then we have clouds, and I clarified that with anchor, whip, and child. And I think it's the same thing. She and others are worried for her safety. And that's just like an albatross around her neck. Um, she's very torn, I think, but her son, that's the younger one, is her main concern. Her children right now are her main concern. I think once they are launched, which won't be very long, I think that's when she'll throw herself more into the fray. Um, yeah. Okay. Um, Another question I thought I'd look at is Judge Dale E. Ho, H-O. This is the judge who ultimately will be the decider in whether New York Mayor Eric Adams's case, which is a federal corruption case, whether it is tabled or whether or not it's tabled. Um, Now, whatever way he decides that it'll be appealed, of course, but he is the next person to have a say in this situation. So, what will Judge Ho decide? I'm going to use the tower for him because he is an officer of the court. He's a judge. And so, what will he decide about Eric Abrams' case and whether or not it should be as the Trump administration would like, whether the charges should be dropped with prejudice? With prejudice, of course, remember, means that the case can be reinstituted at any time. So Eric Abrams has to walk a very fine line determined by 47 if he is to stay free of that case. So let me look. Somebody's outside my window. Okay, they're gone. All right, so we're going to use the tower. Oops, for Judge Ho. And it's the first card. Since it's the first card, it's the first card. So that means that it will be number one, and then I have to draw four more. And that means that whatever's in the center will be critical. So here we go. Okay, so the cards that we have are Judge Ho, we have the young man, we have the bear, we have the dog, and we have the scales. And remember, scales are as much a card about justice as the tower is. So I'm going to pull some clarifiers. What's interesting is the card that ended up being in the center. It's the bear. Now, you all have seen me use this card quite a bit to represent 47 and his narcissistic self. um, but I'm not sure that that's what it represents here. uh, you know, at this point, the decider at this point is Judge Ho. He's the boss of that courtroom, and he's the boss of this decision. And I think he will want that made clear, but I'm going to pull some clarifiers and see what we get. Okay. Hmm. Well, look, so here is Judge Ho. second card is this young man, and I don't love this because this feels aggressive. A lot of people, part of why they stick with 47 is that, they get threatened and their families get threatened, etc. This has the energy of that to me. But anyway, the card in the center is the bear. And as I said, I wasn't sure whether this is narcissistic 47 or whether this is Judge Ho saying, I'm the boss of this. This is my courtroom. I make this decision. Clarifiers are the snake, the clouds, and the anchor. I think that um, he will say, I think, the anchor makes things stuck, meaning that he may say, no, you know what? The case stands. The case doesn't go away. The case stands. And he makes that decision knowing full well the danger that that puts him in, right? This now puts him in the crosshairs of 47 and his people. So it would have to be a really brave decision for Judge Ho to make. And then we have the dog. And this is the card, one of the meanings is lawyers. So we have child, we have older woman, and we have the ring. I think that, again, that's the lawyers. Um, oh, Pam Bondi's somehow involved here. I mean, of course, she's head of the Justice Department. So she may try something else, have it come back around because they really want Eric Abrams to help them. And they love that they have Eric Abrams in a sling. So then we have the scales card. Again, this is a justice card. We have the older man, we have the rider, and we have crossroads. I just feel like this will be that 47 will appeal. He'll try another way to get the court to do what he wants to do. If it doesn't work with Judge Ho, he'll kick it upstairs to a higher court. So I think that Ho will say, you have not given me good grounds for why this case should be dismissed. With prejudice, without prejudice, period. Why this case should be dismissed? Because your reasoning makes no sense. That otherwise, it'll prevent Eric Abrams from being able to run his reelection campaign. It'll keep Eric Adams from being able to keep New York safe from those big bad immigrants. That you haven't made that case, but Judge Ho knows he's really putting a target on his own back by making that decision. Finally, here's a blast from the past. Mike Pence. He's no favorite of mine because he was 45's VP, loyal, slavishly loyal VP. However, he did do the right thing on January 6th, right? When he certified the vote, as he should have done. But as it turns out, he's done even more than that. 47 came out with this stupid statement saying something like, if you're a president can never do any wrong if he's defending his country. Something ignorant like that. And Mike Pence published a letter or a piece that he had written, which was very good, really eloquent. If I can find a link to it, I'll put it in the show notes. Basically arguing that president is not a king. And Pence always believed, because, he's deeply religious, right? He really believed that he was meant to be the president. Now, don't get it twisted. He's not changing his political stripe. He he he's in favor of all 47's policies. It's just that he's not a fan of what Musk is doing. He's not a fan of 47 doing all of these, ridiculous things. Um, I think he thought that he had been touched, anointed, and ordained to eventually be president because he would succeed 45. And that didn't happen. And I think that that shook his world. And I think he's had to process that with mother. Anyway, um, you know, sometimes people in moments like these can surprise you, both with their cowardice and with their courage. And I think that what he did in putting that statement out yesterday was really courageous. It's a very well written statement. Um, what is his future in terms of the party and the country? Looking at Mike Pence. So he will be the older man. Maybe he's thinking now, well, I couldn't get in that front doorway. Maybe there is a back doorway I can get in by opposing what 47 is up to. Maybe I'll be rewarded for that with uh, the presidency. I mean, not sure whom he thinks would vote for him. I mean, he'd maybe get the Never Trumpers vote, but he's not going to get any Democratic vote or any independent vote. But anyway, hope springs eternal. And if God told him and mother that he was going to be the president, he will put his hopes there. So here he is. And let's see what else we get. Yeah. So this is really more about his mindset. I'm not going to pull any clarifiers because we'll see in the fullness of time, as my mother would say, what happens. But we have the child, we have the mice, we have Pence, we have the sun, and we have the moon. So Pence did this new thing, which is to step to 47 and say, hold up, you're not the king. Stop acting like a king. That's new for him. Is he scared? Yeah, he is. He's nervous. Uh, Here he is. But he also thinks that these times call for brave action and acting in the face of fear. And so that's what he's done. I mean, this is, him coming out in the light saying, yeah, I'm not for this. All those other Republicans are, I'm not for this. I don't like what's going on. And that this is his reputation. People see him in a new light. Moon's reputation. People will see him in a new way. And long term, that could help him. Once the dust of all this settles and all these federal workers and farmers, people who may have voted for 47 see that he's gonna take the knife to you too. So and then they look for somewhere else to go because they're disillusioned with 47. I'm sure that Pence is thinking, pick me, pick me. We'll see what happens. I think this is a way for him to cast himself in a new light, to show his mettle one more time, as he did on January 6th. So we'll see. Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon. Take care.